Hello and welcome to our talent management presentation by Jack Mason,
Charlie Bethell
and Jack Holden.
The contents. This is what we'll be running through and covering in this presentation. Firstly, we'll be looking at what talent is and what talent management means from different perspectives. We'll also be looking at problems that arise from defining the topic. Secondly, we'll be looking at identity work and rites of passage. Thirdly, we'll be looking at how talent management affects us on a global scale. In our fourth section, we'll be looking at research into the field of talent advancement. Lastly, we'll be answering any questions that have arisen, and throughout the presentation we will be applying our own personal experience. To be effective in our analysis of talent management, we first need to understand what talent is. Ross 2013 provides a generalised dictionary definition of talent as a special natural ability. In an organisational sense, this highlights a popularised strength-based approach to talent. Although Ross 2013 gives a definition of talent, she goes on to say that frequently defining talent management can hinder progression in the field. This is something that we'll go on to explain further in the talent management section. Tansley and Sempic 2008 go on to define talent management in employees as those individuals who can make the greatest difference to organisational performance, either through their immediate contribution or in longer term by demonstrating the highest levels of potential.
Jackson and Schuler 1990 defined talent management as ensuring the right person is in the right job at the right time.
Rothwell 1994 adds to this, saying that talent management is a deliberate and systematic effort by an organisation to ensure leadership continuity in key positions and encourage individual advancement.
Firstly, we'll be looking at identity work. Identity work is an ongoing process affecting those in employment. Here, an employee constantly alters their identities in line with the work environment in which they find themselves. This can be seen when workers try to realign their identity to suit more senior roles in order to secure a promotion.
Organisations actively enforce identity work throughout their talent management processes. This can be seen in the way global organisations are often structured into talent pools. Each pool provides a level of communitas for employees within its bounds. The employees within these pools often have specific identifying characteristics and labels selected by the organisation. From the organisation's perspective, this helps maintain homogeneity throughout the talent management process. It is also important for firms to maintain employee commitment to their corporate identity. This can offer an alternative perspective of defining talent management as a reference to the internal management of employee emotions and aspirations. Generally, this is achieved mainly through ensuring employee engagement in identity work. In this sense, identity work is a continuous affirmation and correction of behaviours that associate an employee to a specific pool.
So what effects can identity work have on the employee? The pressure applied by the organisation in order to make the individual progress can often entail poor or stressful work conditions. This is particularly apparent in the liminal transition between the university and a corporation. Exposure to rigorous assessment and examination from a corporate perspective helps distinguish the top talent from the rest. During my internship with Enterprise, this process can be seen initially for brand new employees or rising talent in the sense that we had to undergo high levels of training and assessment, not only in business practice, but also in cultural conduct expected throughout the company. This process is seen again when trainees have progressed through their extensive training handbook and are what Tansley and Tietze consider to be emerging leaders. It is at this point that they are given the opportunity to undertake the MQI examination to prove that they have the basic skills to progress to an assistant managerial level. This, coupled with multiple interviews, is what Enterprise uses to determine eligibility to progress.
Now we move on to rites of passage. The first stage of rites of passage is separation. This is the detachment from normal social life. Employees are effectively separated from their own liberty of control and are increasingly internalised to the demands of the organisation that they are joining. A relevant example could be graduate recruitment schemes. Here, graduates are made to leave the relative freedom of choice and made to cooperate in order to conform to what is needed to proceed as talent. This stage may well be the first time the individual has joined a talent pool. An example of this are the situation-based tests you have to take when applying for a job. You are screened to see how well you would fit into the talent pool they desire, how well you fit the tick boxes the company desires. We've experienced this firsthand as we've completed many of these when filling out applications.
The second stage of rites of passage is liminality, which is the act of movement from one talent pool to another. This stage is characterised by its temporality and ambiguity, as individuals acknowledge the temporary position they are in, and that a time will come to move on, but at the same time individuals may not yet be accustomed to the job they find themselves in. Members seek a new communality and unity in their next pool.
The third stage of rites of passage is incorporation. This is the symbolic incorporation of the initiated employee into the new organisational society or talent pool. The individual may be eligible to begin the process again when and if the individual is capable of progressing to the next talent pool. When I worked in a hotel, I began at 14 washing pots in the kitchen with only a few talents. I slowly learned more and more talents and entered more and more talent pools, to kitchen assistant, to waiter, to receptionist, and then general manager over a summer. Each time I fully learned a new talent, I began the cycle of learning the next talent again to keep moving up in the business.
Ross 2013 adopts a very sceptical stance on the mainstream discourse of talent assessment and management. The majority of talent assessment, as viewed by organisations, is merely the categorisation of workers by documented attributes they possess that makes them more able than others. Ross also extends this argument and states that talent mustn't be treated as a unit or currency and should instead be considered subjectively, accounting for the dynamic nature of talent itself and acknowledging the fact that talent exists within the entire workforce. For businesses, these popularised competency-based talent assessments can lead to either unrealistic job specifications or a mismatch between the skills needed for the job and the generic attributes sought in talent. Individuals may find themselves manipulating their talents in an attempt to emulate more senior business leaders, often resulting in failure due to misalignment of actual talent. Ross also warns of dangers to the organisations of misinterpreting the way they conduct talent management, and that not acknowledging the actual talents of individuals within the organisation at the current time can lead to misjudgments in their potential to progress within the organisation in the future.
We will now be talking about global talent management. Scullion, Collins and Caligari 2010 give a broad definition of global talent management as an organisation's efforts to attract, select, develop and retain key talented employees on a global scale. However, there is no agreed definition, as this is a growing topic and has not been fully explored yet. The topic is best explored in the context of a multinational organisation that operates in many different countries. It is often seen as a continuation of human resource management. Tariq and Schuler 2011 talk about global talent shortages and surpluses. They say until 2008, the global talent shortage, especially in developing countries, due to first world countries outsourcing production there and their economy being mainly based on manufacturing exports. This led to an increase in interest in acquisition, retention and management, so that the shortage in talent was less likely to happen again. Malahi and Collins 2010 also focus on global talent management. In their paper, they say that talent has become a very precious resource, fought over by competitors in a global war. There is a very diverse pool of talent out there, and it is important that multinational corporations are able to tap into this and to acquire a talented workforce. However, it is also argued that global talent management is an unfair practice that focuses on the high-achieving knowledge workers. It can also be elitist. I have experienced this when I worked abroad in a hotel over summer. The hotel was in Gran Canaria and I had an office-based role as a receptionist and general assistant. Most of the reception staff were English and most of the waiting and cleaning staff were Gran Canaria nationals. These Gran Canaria nationals could well have had the talent to be a good receptionist or office worker. However, they didn't have the talent of English as their first language, but many knew basic phrases and could have learned the full language. There was a sense of resentment and a them versus us situation was there. It would have been better for the organisation if it looked internally for talent and grew its talent rather than selecting from outside the organisation in some instances.
This is something that Sparrow, Ataye and Macron 2014 talk on, the disruption that talent management can create. It can in some cases cause an elitist attitude, however they also talk about other issues it can cause, leading individual talent to become more important than teamwork. It can also develop into a money-led approach. Whichever company is willing to spend the most on talent will have it at that particular time. This is where management comes in. Talent can become a type of tunnel vision for a small amount of senior managers. This causes them to ignore important things such as teamwork, culture and individual development. Talent becomes something that you can purchase, and senior managers become more likely to buy a new talented employee than train up an existing one that understands the values of the business. To ensure talent management is sustainable, talent management must not dictate the organisational strategy, but must contribute to it. Organisations should manage this to develop and retain talent, not just search for new talents.
Talent advancement is a concept that was recently discussed by Vyman and Collins in 2013. Their core theme about advancing the field is about the betterment of talent within specific fields. Due to the fact that talent management involves many definitions, like we have previously discussed, they involve 4 key ideas that all contribute to the advancement of talent. The first looked at the boundaries of talent management systems, the differences between performance and potential, the balances between buying and training, and the importance of developing talent for pivotal positions.
The second point that Vyman and Collins look at is the varying national trends in talent management. For example, where there are rapidly growing emerging markets, it is often hard to keep up with the swift changes that come about during such change. Furthermore, for a large proportion of the former communist countries, there is such little information and knowledge about the occupational practices, therefore it is hard to research any details about talent management. The BRIC countries follow a similar pattern. Thirdly, they highlighted the importance of understanding talent management in different organisations. The majority of research has only been conducted for multinationals, which evidently only gives a small snapshot of talent management. For there to be a more in-depth understanding of talent management, there needs to be further research into not-for-profits and small-medium enterprises, which are 2 important unexplored areas, as their practices will vastly differ. The fourth and final section looks at the area of practice of talent management. At the core of this section is HR practices, and it's all about how organisations manage talent effectively and integrate their systems fully.
Alverson and Robertson, 2006, believe that talent advancement is rooted in the development of technical expertise and the development of particular and work orientations and behaviours. This requires the development of identities which enable individuals to cope with continuing contexts of ambiguity and change, with the ultimate goal of becoming part of the organisational elite and leadership.
Now moving on to any questions you may have.
So Jack, would you describe yourself as talent?
Talent is an ambiguous and subjective notion, and thus makes this a difficult question to answer. From a dictionary definition, I would describe myself as talent. We all have different special natural abilities. However, from a management-based perspective, I would argue not, or not yet at least. Due to the way organisations decide what talent is, with business jargon and buzzwords, I do not feel that I tick the boxes yet. For example, I believe I have the talent of leading a team. However, up to this point, it has been a sports team. If I had to display the talent of managing a work-based team, I feel my talent may not be adequate for this.
And how about you, Charlie?
Similarly to Jack, if talent was viewed in the same way as my sporting abilities in regards to leadership, I do believe I am talented. However, at this stage, organisations are generally more interested in my degree and other academic qualifications that may not fully represent all of my skills and abilities. Do you believe there's a difference between talent management and personnel management?
Again, the ambiguity of the topic of talent management makes this a difficult question to answer. Some definitions would lead you to believe that they're almost the same topic. However, Sisson defines personnel management as the policies, processes and procedures involved in the management of people in work organisations. Tansley and Sempig define talent management as finding those individuals who can make the biggest difference to a business, either immediately or over time. It seems that talent management is more individual-based as an approach, and that personnel management is more of a collectively based business process to ensure the business has a full workforce.
From what I have researched on the topic, I agree with this answer. Talent management is more individually based on specific skills and abilities, and that personnel management is more a general business function that focuses on maintaining the complete workforce for the organisation. Question 3. In your experience, has it been more important to be skilled or to fit in at work?
Personally, it didn't particularly matter how well you fit in as long as you were capable of doing the job correctly and didn't rely too much on other team members. In fact, it almost felt as though you had to be skilled to fit in. At first, I hadn't got as much experience as the other guys in the office, but once I got better at sales and driving, they began to accept me more as a colleague. More senior managers definitely viewed skills above fitting in, although the best and most successful managers fit the company culture and also had the skills to maximise business.
From my own experience, I would say that it was more important for me to fit in. The job that I was doing was in Ralph Lauren, so it involved a lot of folding clothes and merchandising, so it was more unskilled. My colleagues were all of a similar age, and for me to have a high job satisfaction, it was important for me to fit into the social circles, as well as to conform myself to the way the company works, so I had no problem with how the management wanted the store to be run.
We'd just like to say thank you for listening to our presentation on talent management.